Welcome to the Deep Dive from the channel Computer Science Made Easy. And today, we're going to be looking more closely at AI guardrails, specifically within the context of large language models, LLMs.
Okay.
You can think of it this way. On a highway, you have guardrails to kind of keep you from going off course. And AI guardrails serve a similar purpose, to keep AI systems on track and produce safe results.
Yeah, that's a great analogy, and it's really fascinating how these guardrails have become, especially with the rise of generative AI. I mean, we're seeing it everywhere, from chatbots to content creation tools. But, this incredible potential also comes with its own set of challenges.
So why should our listeners care about these AI guardrails?
Well, AI is becoming more and more integrated into our lives every day, and understanding these guardrails can really help you assess the trustworthiness and potential risks of the AI-powered tools and information that you encounter daily.
Okay, so let's dive a bit deeper into this. What are some of the specific risks that are associated with generative AI?
Well, generative AI, while powerful, can sometimes generate inaccurate or misleading content. And there are also risks tied to, certain prompts, potential security vulnerabilities, and even the possibility of AI hallucinations, where it generates information that's not really grounded in reality.
So it's not a perfect technology.
Yeah.
These guardrails are essentially meant to address those imperfections.
Exactly. And they offer a range of benefits. They enhance privacy and security, ensure regulatory compliance, and really help build trust with users. Think about it. If you're interacting with an AI-powered chatbot, wouldn't you feel more comfortable knowing that there are guardrails in place to protect your information and ensure the advice you're getting is accurate?
Absolutely makes sense. From both the user's perspective and a company's perspective as well. Can you elaborate a bit more on exactly how those guardrails provide those benefits?
Sure. So when we talk about privacy and security, these guardrails act as a shield against potential attacks and data breaches. AI systems, especially LLMs, can be vulnerable to manipulation, and guardrails help bolster that security to protect both organizations and their users.
That's really reassuring, especially as we're, entrusting more and more sensitive information to AI systems.
Right. And when it comes to regulatory compliance, governments worldwide are increasingly focused on AI, and guardrails can really help companies navigate this complex landscape by ensuring that their AI systems adhere to, relevant laws and standards.
So it's not just about ethics, it's about, practical legal protection as well.
Precisely. And ultimately, guardrails contribute to building trust with users. When people see that a company is committed to responsible AI use, they're much more likely to engage with their products and services.
It seems like a crucial foundation for wider adoption of AI. Now, the source mentions this taxonomy of guardrails developed by McKinsey. Can you break that down for us?
Yeah, so this taxonomy categorizes guardrails based on their specific function. There are 5 main types: appropriateness, hallucination, regulatory compliance, alignment, and validation guardrails.
Okay, so let's unpack each of those a little bit. What are appropriateness guardrails all about?
So think of them as the content moderators of the AI world. They're designed to filter out any toxic, harmful, or biased content generated by the AI system, ensuring that everything aligns with ethical standards.
So they're kind of like the first line of defense against, potentially offensive or inappropriate material. What about hallucination guardrails?
These are interesting. As we've discussed, AI, particularly LLMs, can sometimes generate information that is simply not true. We call these instances hallucinations. And hallucination guardrails are there to catch those inaccuracies before they spread, essentially fact-checking the AI's output.
Incredibly important, especially with the concerns around, AI-generated misinformation these days. What's next on the list?
Regulatory compliance guardrails, as the name suggests, ensure that all AI-generated content adheres to relevant regulations, whether those are general data protection laws or industry-specific guidelines.
So playing a key role in keeping AI development and deployment within legal boundaries.
Absolutely. And then we have alignment guardrails. And these are all about ensuring that the AI stays true to its intended purpose and meets user expectations. This prevents the AI from veering off course or producing contradictory information.
So consistency and reliability are definitely important in building trust with users.
Right. And finally, we have validation guardrails.
Yeah.
Which serve as the final checkers in the process. They verify that the generated content meets specific criteria and may even trigger a correction loop if an issue is detected. For example, if a financial chatbot was about to dispense risky investment advice, the validation guardrail might flag it for review by a human expert.
So it's not just about automating everything. There's still a place for human oversight in the process.
Absolutely. Human judgment is crucial. especially when dealing with nuanced or ambiguous situations that require more careful analysis.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, the source also mentions specific tools that are used to implement these guardrails. Could you tell us a bit about those?
Sure, so there are both open source and proprietary options available. On the open source front, we have projects like Hugging Face's chatbot Guardrails Arena, NVIDIA's Nemo Guardrails, Guardrails AI, and LangChain's Guardrails library.
So it seems like there's a lot of activity in the open source community. To make these tools accessible to a wider range of developers, what about proprietary options?
Yeah, on the proprietary side, we see tools like OpenAI's moderation and Microsoft's Azure Chatbot Guardrail. These are often integrated directly into the platforms and services offered by those companies.
Okay, so there's a range of choices depending on a company's needs and resources, but how do these guardrails actually work in practice?
Well, most guardrails operate in a deterministic manner, meaning they consistently produce the same output for a given input. They achieve this by monitoring AI systems through various techniques, like classifying content, validating its meaning, checking for potential data leaks, and identifying any harmful elements.
Sounds like a pretty complex process with many moving parts.
Indeed. And to manage that complexity, most AI guardrail systems consist of 4 key components: the checker, the corrector, the rail, and the guard.
Okay, let's break those down. What does the checker do?
The checker is like the initial screening process. It scans the AI-generated content looking for any potential red flags, like offensive language biased responses, factual errors, anything that might be problematic.
So it's constantly on the lookout for anything that might violate the established guidelines.
Exactly, and if the checker finds something, that's where the corrector comes in.
What does the corrector do?
The corrector steps in to refine, correct, or improve the AI's output based on the checker's findings. It might fix factual inaccuracies, remove inappropriate content, or adjust the tone and style of the response.
So it's kind of like having an editor, but specifically for AI-generated content.
That's a great analogy. The corrector works iteratively, refining the content until it meets the predefined standards.
It's fascinating how all these different components work together. What about the rail? What role does that play in the system?
The rail acts as the coordinator overseeing the interaction between the checker and the corrector. It manages the flow of checks and corrections, ensuring everything runs smoothly. It also logs all actions taken, creating a record for analysis and future improvement.
So essentially the manager of the guardrail system. And finally, what about the guard?
The guard is the overseer, the component that interacts with all the others. It initiates the checks, coordinates the corrections, gathers the results, and delivers the final corrected output.
A very sophisticated system designed to ensure that AI behaves responsibly.
It is, and while we've been focusing on these individual components, it's important to remember that guardrails are meant to be integrated seamlessly into a company's existing technology and should be customizable to fit different use cases.
So flexibility and adaptability are key. Now, the source mentioned something called AI agents. Where do they fit into this picture?
AI agents are a really fascinating development in this field. They can actually function as guardrails themselves, constantly monitoring and adjusting the output of LLMs. Imagine having an AI agent specifically tasked with preventing an LLM from generating harmful or biased content. It's like AI policing AI.
That is a fascinating concept. It highlights the growing complexity and sophistication of AI systems. But it also kind of begs the question, are guardrails purely about mitigating risks, or can they offer tangible benefits to companies?
That's a great question. And the answer is they can offer significant benefits. They can be a source of competitive advantage by building trust with customers, avoiding legal issues, and even attracting and retaining top talent. Companies that prioritize responsible AI use are more likely to resonate with customers who are increasingly concerned about data privacy and ethical considerations. They're also more likely to avoid costly legal battles that can arise from AI systems that operate without proper safeguards.
So it's a smart business move from multiple perspectives.
Exactly. And don't forget about the impact on talent acquisition and retention. Skilled professionals are more likely to be drawn to organizations that are committed to ethical AI practices.
Seems like a win-win situation. Guardrails benefit companies, customers, and the overall development of responsible AI. But how can organizations effectively scale these guardrails as AI systems become increasingly complex?
Scaling is a critical challenge, and it's about more than just adding more guardrails. The real value comes from embedding these safeguards into the core of an organization's platforms and processes. This is where solutions like Iguacio by McKinsey come into play. They help integrate AI guardrails directly into the production environment. facilitating AI governance at scale.
So building that responsible AI foundation from the ground up.
Precisely. And it helps organizations address a wide range of risks, from data privacy breaches and bias to hallucinations and intellectual property infringement.
A very proactive approach to mitigating potential issues before they even arise. The source also mentions a real-world example of a company that successfully implemented AI guardrails. Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. ING, a financial services company, provides a great example. They developed an AI chatbot to interact with customers, but they were keenly aware of the potential risks involved.
What kind of risks were they concerned about?
Their primary focus was on ensuring the accuracy and safety of the information provided by the chatbot. They wanted to prevent it from sharing sensitive customer data, offering risky financial advice, or straying outside the boundaries of regulatory compliance.
All valid concerns, especially in the financial industry.
Exactly. And to address these concerns, they implemented a robust set of guardrails right from the start. These guardrails help to maintain customer trust and protect the company from potential legal and reputational risks.
Sounds like a successful implementation. But zooming out a bit, what are some key steps that companies can take to deploy AI guardrails effectively at scale?
The first step is recognizing that this isn't solely a technical challenge. The design process needs to involve a diverse group of people, including legal experts, ethicists, and domain experts, to identify and address the real risks associated with AI within a specific context.
So bringing together different perspectives to ensure a comprehensive approach.
Exactly. Companies also need to define clear metrics for evaluating the quality of their AI system's output. These metrics should be aligned with their specific business goals, industry standards, and any relevant regulations.
So setting those clear benchmarks for success.
Right. And they need to build guardrail components that are modular and reconfigurable, allowing them to be adapted for different use cases and integrated into existing systems.
Flexibility and scalability are essential as AI systems continue to evolve.
Absolutely. And companies need to adopt a dynamic approach, acknowledging that generative AI is constantly changing. This means using rule-based guardrails with adaptable baselines that can be adjusted based on new data and insights.
So being responsive to the evolving landscape of AI.
Exactly. And they should leverage existing regulatory frameworks, which often provide valuable guidance for setting goals and measuring performance.
Building on the foundation of established best practices.
Right. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, companies need to foster a culture of responsible AI throughout their organization. This includes developing new capabilities and roles focused on AI transparency, governance, and fairness.
So it's not just about the technology, it's about the people and the processes as well.
Absolutely. It's about creating an environment where everyone understands the importance of responsible AI and actively contributes to its ethical development and deployment.
That's a great point. It really highlights the human element that's so crucial. In navigating this complex landscape, now I know we've covered a lot of ground, but given the rapid pace of AI development, I'm curious about what the future holds. What new types of guardrails or challenges might we see on the horizon?
Well, that's a great question. And I think the most important takeaway is that AI at its core is a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill. It really all comes down to how we choose to develop and deploy it.
Yeah, it's a powerful reminder that we have this responsibility to shape the future of AI in a way that benefits humanity.
Absolutely. And that's why I think, conversations like this are so crucial. By engaging in these open and honest discussions about the benefits and the risks of AI, we can collectively work towards a future where AI is a force for positive change.
It's about ensuring that it serves humanity's best interests.
Exactly. And I believe we have a real opportunity to achieve that. Yeah. By working together, by sharing knowledge and insights and prioritizing ethical considerations, we can create an AI-powered world that is safer, fairer, and more beneficial for everyone.
That's an inspiring thought, a call to action for all of us to be informed and engaged in shaping the future of AI.
I couldn't agree more.
Well, this has been an incredibly insightful deep dive into the world of AI guardrails. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this important topic. What are your biggest hopes and concerns about the future of AI? What role do you think guardrails should play in shaping that future? Share your comments and suggestions below.
And if you're interested in exploring other areas of AI, let us know. We're always looking for new topics to delve into.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning. This is The Deep Dive from the channel Computer Science Made Easy, signing off.